Welcome to this presentation about the 5 perspectives of work experience by the 9 practices of the organization of work. My name is Dr. Wealth Stephen Hobbs from the Wealth Learning Network. The workplace perspectives are thematic ways to describe and explain the experience people have of their workplace. The 9 core practices are the typical terms people use to describe and explain the organization of work. This presentation is a short summary of the words used to describe and explain what happens at the intersection of people's experience of work, the perspectives, and the main ways work is organized, the practices. Of the 5 perspectives here, reactive, defensive, adaptive, proactive, and generative, by the practices of lead, manage, administer, and communicate, you will notice that there's words filling in the table. Let's look at the lead row. From a reactive defensive perspective, you are enforcing and holding your position. It would feel and sound a little bit like this. I'm asking you to do this work, and I want you to do it this way is because I'm the leader. If you go up to the other end of that row, you have enable and educate under proactive and generative. When you lead from a proactive generative perspective, you enable people to do the work. You lead them to a position where they start to understand and value how they're going to do their work. And where necessary, you educate them in how to be better at what it is that they do. So using that as an example, you can go down to the manage row and look at the words that are associated with that row against the perspectives. Again, do administer. Let's look at the communicate row. From a reactive defensive perspectives, you are in desist and debate. Desist means that you're not involved with it. You sort of turned off, tuned out. With the debate is that you're holding a point of view, you're very much tethered to it, and you won't give up on it. When you move into the adaptive perspective, then you're being more open to chatting with one another. You'll stop and have some basic conversations with people. You may not divulge everything that you need a person to understand. You're willing to have a chat around the cooler. As you move into proactive and generative, then you're into discuss and dialogue. Discuss suggests that you have a point of view, yet you are open to other points of view, but you know that you have it, and you would like to make sure that people understand it, but not to the extent that you're going to push it. When it comes to dialogue, you recognize is that the meaning of what you're sharing has to flow through the conversation. The dialogue actually comes from dialogos, which means meaning flowing through. So from a generative perspective, you would like to see everyone have their meaning shared and flowing through the conversation so that it's not butting up against each other and people can find the ideas in that conversation. When we look at the next set of practices, structure, transition, effect, time, and identity, we're starting to get down into more of the detailing of what happens for your organization of work. Let's look at the structure row. From a structure perspective, reactive and defensive have you in a fragmented and hierarchy. Fragmented is just all over the place. There's no real cohesion structure to what's happening in the workplace. A hierarchy, you know the organizational chart. There's someone at the top and it cascades down from there. When you move into the adaptive perspective, you're starting to identify the functional activities is that you're saying is that over here is our communication area. Over here is where we do our information technology. Over here is where we do our pay and benefits. You are structuring the work according to the functions necessary to be able to get the work done. When you look at a matrix, think of it from a perspective of an XY on your piece of paper. The x-axis is made up of all the programs. The y-axis is made up of all the support structures. Now, what happens is, how do the support elements of the organization influence the program areas? That's a matrix. And then as you move into networks, this is a structure where there is no center, yet every part of the organization, every functional unit of the organization knows that it is actually connected in this network. And when something occurs, that area might be, in a sense, blinking, yet everyone else knows that something is going on there and they need to pay attention to it. When you take a look at the identity row, what you have from a reactive and defensive perspectives is this concept of gambler and competitor. The gambler is you're sort of shaking the dice and throwing them. You're just taking chances. There's a lot of hope and whim kind of things going on there. The competitor is when you see someone else that you're working with to be someone who might oppose you. You need to take them on. So it's like a win for me and a loss for you kind of idea. As you move into the adaptive perspective, you are moving into an entrepreneurial way of looking at things. If you're inside an organization, a term intrapreneur might apply to you. As you move into the proactive generative perspectives, from a proactive point of view, you are forecasting what is going to be coming. You have a sense of how to prepare and have a prevention mindset to be able to set that up for yourself. The visionary is that you're out there looking at what's going on and being able to bring back that vision back to the workplace. In moving to a summary around the 5 workplace perspectives by 9 core practices, let me just give you a couple of working examples. When you display your leadership in a reactive way, you enforce how things occur. When being generative, you educate those involved in how they can achieve things. In dealing with change, and we know that change is ever present, when you defend your position, you see change as your opponent. When you proact with change, you realize that the whole organization needs to transition because of change. These are a couple of examples just as summary. If you go back into the video and just watch it again, you'll get a sense of some other examples. One of the best ways to really learn from this presentation is to go through from each practice and say to yourself, what does it look like when I react or defend or adapt or proact or generate? Being able to help others to achieve their personal goals and to accomplish what the group as a whole wants to accomplish. And therefore, able to create this great organization that you are proud and joyful to work in. If we may be of assistance, please contact us at one of these 2 websites. Take care.